Researching the ProQuest dissertation's Theses Global, I focused on the rise of socialism in America. Finding work on this topic in the database was somewhat difficult for this particular topic, as most of the dissertations that directly correlated were from the 1970s and a few from the latter half of the 1980s. That tells me that this is not a topic that has had much interest in the last few decades. However, I did find two. Diagnosing Socialism, U.S. Perceptions of National Socialism 1920 to 1933 from a dissertation by Robin Bowden in 2009, and Hiding in Plain Sight, American Socialists at the State Level 1899 to 1945, written by Joshua Kluver in 2024. In the dissertation by Robin Bowden, the focus of the research was on the United States and Nazism leading up to World War II. So the dissertation was broken down into chapters, and the opening chapter described the purpose and approach of the dissertation, along with the contribution it made to the history of National Socialism during that interwar period. Each chapter was broken down by sections that explained various parts of the story. Most of it focused on the German story, the German parts of the story, and how the US responded to what Germany was doing during that time. This made it much easier to read and was able to organize the paper into more manageable topics, as it was quite an extensive time period that the author did review. Bowden detailed much of the Nazi activity, getting a clearer understanding of what was happening in Germany. The bibliography itself was broken down by sources, including primary, unpublished government documents, national archives, and record groups. The source list appeared evenly split between primary and secondary. In Joshua Kluver's dissertation, Hiding in Plain Sight, American Socialists at the State Level, 1899 to 1945, he began with an abstract about 1.5 pages long, describing his thesis on socialism in America during his chosen time period, what he studied, and how it affected the states. The table of contents organized the paper by chapter, and each chapter was broken down into sections. Before delving into the paper, he did begin with an introduction providing historiography of his topic, sources and methodology, terminology, and chapter outlines. He detailed his thesis in the introduction, where he explained what the dissertation was going to do in the following pages. Many of the sources Kluver used were legislative journals that he described as the linchpin of the project. This is where most of the dissertation focused, was on the day-to-day activities of the legislature. His focus, or state legislatures, and his focus was on the socialist invasion of state politics. And these journals were detailed with the activities and at that time. So his chapter outline was the overview of the outline of the dissertation. His bibliography was organized much like Bowden's in that it had sections. Dissertations had section headings, subsections. For example, his published and unpublished primary and secondary sources were main headings, with subheadings like dissertations, journal articles, etc. To provide some context to the dissertation reviews, I did review a journal article for comparison, American Socialism and American Political Culture, Ebbinghaus Conciliation with and Dissent from Individualism, published in 2021, so it was more recent as well. Each of the dissertations covered unique perspectives of socialism in America. Therefore, I did not see a lot of crossover and references, especially with the foundational article I did use for context. The context article did touch on a few points that provided context for the socialist conversation in America that each of the dissertations did kind of cover in their particular topics. And the main point and the main purpose of all of these was that socialism was a slow but steady force to quietly change the fabric of society through political organizations. Thank you.